זה שיר פשוט, זה שיר קצר, אולי נשמע טיפה מוזר, אבל תדע, כי זו עובדה, שאלוהים אוהב אותך, והוא רואה, והוא שומע.
Well, blessings and welcome to the portion, the practical portion. I'm Charlie Brown, and I'm excited that I get to have the privilege of walking through this week's Parsha with you. We are in Re'eh, and for those of you, if you don't have a reading schedule, I just want to quickly just share with you, like, what is this about? You can go to the Rooted Cafe. Under the portion, we do have a place to download this year still, and we're working on next year's. It's just about ready. But what you do is you can see here in Deuteronomy, and you're going to look down and you're going to look at these dates, and you see the date right here says August the 12th. August the 12th is actually this Saturday, which is the end of this week. It's the Shabbat, and you're always going to pick what is the Shabbat that's ahead that I will be reading. So this is where we're going to be until Saturday, and Sunday we'll start the next one. My friend Brenda always says, you look for the date because that's the date your homework is due. So the homework is due on August 12th. That's the last day for reading Re'eh, and it's Deuteronomy 11:26 through 16:17. And then we include also the Haftarah or the prophets, and that is Isaiah 54:11 through 55:5. And then, of course, we've included the Brit Hadashah or the Gospels or the renewed covenant, and that's John 6:35 through 51. So I'm excited to go into this with you. It's just an amazing, this Parsha it's my favorite. I know I say that all the time, but here's the thing. This is so cool because this portion starts out by saying, Re'eh, behold. And we can't really go further until I always think it's a good idea when you're going to a Parsha, like, what does the word mean? Why did they choose this word for this Parsha? And this one is particularly interesting to me because they choose the word behold, Re'eh. But if you look at the word it's the root word of this, it's to see. But when you go through and you look at the lexicon and you really get to feel like the dimensionality of what that word Re'eh means, it's not just like, oh, hey, I saw that. Oh, I saw you. It's just more. Like, you can keep going through and you can read. You get the deep part of it is like the root of it is to see, right? To behold something. To see something. But it's not just about seeing with your eyes. It's like, what are you taking in? What are you aimed on? And then the sprinkles are all the little things underneath it, which is saying, one of the things was written was to see the face of God, to see the King, to enjoy the light, to live. Do you see? I mean, it's way more than just, oh, I see that. Enjoying life, to live. And we're going to see as we keep going through this is going to be important. We're going to see, Re'eh, we're going to see, what are you aiming at? It's also part in there. So it's not just, oh, I saw this. It's like, what am I aiming at? What's important to me? What do I have in my sights? Right? Because we will always come back to, when we hear the word sin in Hebrew, chatat, it isn't just like, oh, I messed up. We missed the mark. It's that archery term that I was looking at something else and I got off track. And the Torah is the same. It's the instructions. It's hitting the mark. It's the same. So what are you looking at? And he's saying, behold, I want you to look at this again, because when you look at this, you're going to see life. You will see God. You will see the King. You will see all the goodness. You will live. You will enjoy the light. And that is what this whole Parsha is about, this portion. And I want to get practical, obviously, as we go through it today. But this is what he's trying to say to us. Hey, what are you looking at? What do you see? What do you Re'eh? Where are your eyes fixed? Because you can probably tell, do you feel like you're hitting the mark all the time? And we're going to talk a lot about blessings and cursings. Cursings, curses. Blessings and curses. What are you looking at? Do you feel like you're constantly living in this cursed place and everything bad is always happening to you? Maybe Your eyes are fixed on the wrong thing. And because of that, you've gotten off track. But I'm here to say this is one of those really amazing portions that's saying, let's just look at what we need to keep our eyes on. And if we keep our eyes on this, we're going to see God and we're going to see blessings. It is guaranteed. It is a promise. He promises to give a life, an abundant life. Things will get hard, but what are you looking at when they are hard? Are you focused on all the abundance that you have around you and in walking in gratitude? Are you focused on everything that you don't have? Are you focusing on the blessings or on your lack? And I think it makes a big difference. Where are we raying? Where are we fixing our eyes? Where are we looking? Are we looking into the sun? Are we enjoying the light of his goodness? Or are we distracted by the dark things? And as we jump into chapter 13, we start in right away at chapter 11. And my Bible, I'm in the Tree of Life version this week. And it starts off with verse 26. It says, see, or re'eh, behold, I am setting before you today a blessing and a curse. The blessing, if you listen to the mitzvah of Adonai your God, that I am commanding you today. But the curse, if you do not listen to the mitzvah of Adonai your God, but turn from the way and I'm commanding you today to look away, right? If I look away, I'm turning, I'm not fixing on the correct things. Now, when Adonai your God brings you into the land you're going to possess, you are to set the blessings on Mount Gerizim and the curse on Mount Ebal. Are they not the Jordan toward the west in the land of the Canaanites who dwell in Arabah, opposite Gilgal, beside the oaks of Moreh? For you are about to cross over to Jordan to go in to possess the land Adonai your God is giving you. And you will possess it and dwell in it. And you will take care to do all the statutes and ordinances that I'm setting before you today. This isn't new, right? But they're going to be proclaimed again. It's important. He's saying, I want you to re'eh. I want you to live in this amazing abundance of life. I want you to do that. So the blessings and the cursings. I love talking about some blessings and some curses almost as much as I love talking about the korbanots or the sacrifices. I love talking about this because I believe with all my heart that this is foundational for you. It's so foundational. So you're going to want to stay with me so that we can get this down. It's super important because if we can get the understanding of what blessings and cursings are, I'm just telling you right now, it is going to be life-changing. Because I think a lot of the times we have this understanding of what curses are. And I think that might have thrown us off a little bit. So I'm going to get really deep into that a little bit today, is like, what is a curse? And we want to really talk about it. But first, before we get any farther, I just want to ask all of you, can you do me a favor? Would you pray? Would you, in your prayers this week, as there's a whole bunch of us women headed to Waxahachie, Texas for the Surge Messianic Women's Conference, I want to ask all of you, would you stop? Would you say a little prayer? Would you ask the Father to protect the women, their homes? You know how it is when you leave the house, and that whoever's watching the children, and that there would be life and joy when they return, that the kids would enjoy themselves, and that whoever's watching them, it's a father or a grandparent, whoever's watching the children, there would be joy in that. And would you pray for the speakers? Would you pray for the tech people? Would you pray for those who are preparing meals? Would you pray for the staff that work at the hotel? I just would ask that of you. Would you please do that for me? Because I believe it's too late to get tickets, but you can still Google Surge Messianic Women's Conference and reach out to Sarah and see if there's any openings left. Because if you could squeeze yourself in there, especially now, it's probably late to get a flight or whatever. But if you could drive there, I am driving from Northwest Arkansas down, but I'm excited. I'm excited of what the Lord's going to do, because I get the privilege of speaking on Friday night, and then I'll be doing 2 workshops throughout the rest of the weekend. And I am so excited about what the Father's doing. I'm so excited about what he's stirring up inside of me, and how much I feel like he wants to set his daughters free. Set them free so that they can be prepared and walk in the leadership that he has called them to, because he's called us to be co-heirs, partners, reign with him. And I'm just really thrilled. And I'm anticipating some amazing things. So if you're going to be there, would you find me? Would you find me? I mean, I have a table there, the Rooted Cafe. We have a table there. We'll all be there. But would you find me? Would you reach out to me? Come see me, because I really want to be able to meet you in person. I would love to squeeze you in person. So would you just come up and let me know that you're there? I believe, I know for sure the table will be open on Friday before Shabbat, and then again on Saturday night after Shabbat, and I'll be able to be there. I'll have books there. I'll be able to sign. I can't wait. I hope I get to see you. I hope I do. And I will let you guys know that the videos from the Raise Them Up Homeschool Summit, they have gone up to $39 now. The window closed for that $7 deal. They have gone up to $39, but I will tell you, you can still get those for free if you do what most women do. And most women, what they do is they go in, they become a part of us in the Rooted Cafe, and then all of that is included. You always get all of our conferences, thousands of hours of teachings, conference teaching, summits. So there's so much. And I am just still being so blessed. I have a 7-hour drive. I can't wait to re-listen to. I'm not a homeschooler anymore, but I am loving what I'm learning to help co-parent as a grandparent, help grandparent my grandchildren, but it helps me as a person, helps me as a leader. The things that I learn when I'm going through those sessions, because our teachers and coaches are phenomenal. So that's a lot to talk about. What else? We do have a new homeschool. It's only homeschool portal for women to come in a community. It is $7 a month. If you would prefer to just focus on just homeschooling, you can do that. You also get those videos for that. So try it for a month and see if you like it for $7. Watch the videos and you can cancel. We won't hold you hostage. So if you want information, you can email us at therootedcafe.com, KAFE. Okay, let's get back to blessings and curses. Blessings. The root of the word blessings is barak. Barak. And I want you to think of that word blessings as to kneel. And you could almost imagine when like the knights would come into the king and they would kneel before the king and they would just be blessed. They would be, I knight you, or, they would come in and they would be blessed. This is a thing. This is where you're honored. You would be esteemed, right? I want you to think of that. I think we don't really struggle with the word blessing and what blessing means. I don't feel like we really struggle a lot with that. I think the word that causes us the most issue, say it everyone really loud, curse. The word curse, but the root of that word in Hebrew is kalal. Kalal. Okay. Say it, kalal. Everyone practice. The word is kalal, and it's a kuf lamed lamed. Okay. The simplest way that I can explain the word to you really quickly is to be light, to lighten something, or to diminish something. So whereas being blessed would be exalting something, even though you're kneeling, you're being honored, you're being whatever. But kalal is to be diminished. It's to be made light of, that it's just, you're not carrying the weight of the glory. It's different. But I want you to focus. It's interesting. You got to know, for those of you who spend any time in the Hebrew alphabet or in Hebrew at all, you got to know that if there are two lameds in a word back to back, what is that telling you? What is that telling you? I would love comments, blow it up. I want to hear, what is it telling you when you see two lameds in a row? The lamed looks like a shepherd's hook. Sorry, guys, I have the mowing guys here. Looks like a shepherd's hook. And what does a shepherd's hook do? It corrects, it guides, right? It trains. It also can, I would keep it with corrects. It makes corrections. Punishments, they're more corrections, like, hey, get over here, right? It counts. It examines, right? Because it's looking for diseases, and they use it it saves. It's grabbing that one hook on there. It's grabbing that sheep as it's trying to fall off the cliff. And if there's two of those in a row, I'm going to leave you to spend some time in the letter kuf. But look at lamed lamed. If you have this letter that means a shepherd's hook, it means correction. It means examining you. It means putting you back where you belong. Whatever that takes, not because but out of love, not out of anger or hate, but out of love to bring you back to where you're supposed to be so that you can walk in your intended purpose. Okay. So he's saying, I'm setting before you life and death, and I want you to choose. And that seems like a no-brainer to most of us, but we struggle with this every single day. I'm setting before you life and death. I'm setting before you a blessing, he said, and a curse. And what did he say when I read that? He said, I want you to, how do you get the blessings? When you listen to the mitzvot or obey my commandments, when you listen, when you shema. And we know Shema isn't like we know, oh, Shema Israel, Adonai Eloheinu, Hear, O Israel. It's not just listening, but it's hearing it and acting on it. It's hearing it and actually doing it, not just hearing and being like selective hearing. I heard you, la, 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 doing my thing. No, he says, I need you to do this. I want you to not just hear it, but I want it to become everything in you. I want all of my mitzvot, all of my commandments to become everything to you, that you're going to walk this out, not just hearing it, but doing it. So now he's saying, first thing he's saying is re'eh, and now he's saying shama. I want you to fix your sights, and I want you to listen, and I want you to act. I want you engaged with your senses, hearing, seeing, doing, fixing, seeing. I want you all in. Why? Because can I just tell you, he's all in for you. He wants you all in because he's all in unto death before the foundations of the world. He's all in and he's asking you, I want you all in. And if you are all in with your whole heart, your whole mind, your whole soul, with everything, if you would love me like that, if you would listen and do and see and fix your eyes, you're going to be blessed. Great things are going to happen. And he lists and he goes through, what's going to happen when you choose this? What's going to happen when you choose this? Great things are going to happen. But if you don't, the word is curse, right? The word is curse, kalal. You will be cursed. I want you to think it's not like some witch with a cauldron and she's putting in like a one bat eyeball in the hair of a dog and she's not mixing this cauldron up. It's not, he's coming up with this thing that's going to turn you into a rabbit, or it's going to make, this isn't what this word means. Let's go back to, at least we know two of those letters that were the same letter, the lamed. We know this must have something to do with correction. Can I say today, even the kalal, the curses, are about redemption. Even when you have gone astray, and he's saying, you've chosen, why have you chosen the kalal? Why have you chosen not to fix your eyes on the things of me or listen to the things I'm saying to you, but instead you're looking at other things and you are in chatat, you're missing the mark, and I'm calling you back to Torah to hit the mark. Here's the instruction so that you can sight yourself in, fix your sight. I don't know how. I don't know how to follow him. I don't know how to see him. He's telling you right now, I want you to fix your sights. And even when you don't, I'm about redemption. And I will kalal. There will be a curse. And what will happen is you will be separated. And I like to kind of think of it as more like being put on restriction, right? It's being a restriction. If you don't listen and do what the house rules are, then what's going to happen is you're going to have to live a limited life. You're not less of a child of the family, but you're limited until you learn. Can we write that one down? You will be limited until you learn. You're going to be limited until you learn how to fix yourself in so that you're hitting the mark, to stop getting distracted by shiny things or what you perceive to be shinier things that seem more fun, that seem not as restricting. But the true restricting is in the kalal. He's telling you it's going to look like you're going to fix your eyes on something else, and that's going to cause you to be restricted, Remember, it said lightened or to be diminished. You're going to be put in this place of restriction. So we hop into verse 8 in chapter 12. You aren't going to act like you've been acting here. That's one of my favorite. I want to read that verse to you right here. He says, there you are to bring your burnt offerings and your sacrifices, your tithes, your offerings of your hand, your vow and your freewill offerings, and the firstborn of your herd and your flocks. There you are, you and your households will eat before Adonai your God and rejoice in every undertaking of your hand. I mean, you're going to rejoice in the work that you do. It's going to be exciting. It's going to be such a blessing, and it's going to be a reminder as you're giving to the Lord, a reminder of what he's given, the strength he's given you, the sun, the watering, the rain that's fallen, the blessings on the crops, the blessings on your jobs. As you give, when you're going to give, I'm sorry, I'm going to get a side note. When you go and you give, it isn't something where you're supposed to go and be like, oh, I got to give my tithes. You're going because you're excited. You're going because it is a reminder. It is a reminder. It's when you're bringing it, it's a place that you're going to rejoice in every undertaking of your hand as Adonai your God has blessed you. And then he says, this is where I was trying to get to. He says, you will not do all the things as you are doing here today. Everyone doing what is right in his own eyes. This is this re'eh. We're back to this re'eh. Everyone's looking and doing whatever they think's right in their own eyes. He's saying that's not what's going to happen. I'm going to have you fixated on the things of me, fixated on bringing in the return back into the storehouse, fixated on not thinking, not by might or by power, but by your spirit, Father. You're the one who allows me to wake up in the morning and have the strength or the mind capacity to get anything done. And he tells them, he continues to say, then when I, not if I, when I dispossess the people from the land, don't look into how they worship their gods or say, oh, I want to worship Adonai that way. And he says, don't worship God the way the pagans do. I still, in my opinion, my humble, very humble opinion, believe that the couple that Phinehas or Phineas killed, I believe that the man went along with what she was telling him to do because she believed that that is a way that they would worship their gods in front of the temple. So he was bringing in like, hey, they do it there. Let's worship our God this way. Not like he's going to complain, but if this is a way to please their gods, maybe our God will also be pleased if we do it this way. I don't think it was all rebellion. I think some of it was, hey, this is a way. It was easy to get swept away and saying, oh, if this is how they do it, it was right in their own eyes, but it wasn't right in God's. Their re'eh was off. What are the ways do you think right now? I want you to just take a second. What are some ways that we maybe have not beheld re'eh, his plan, his purpose, his commandments, and possibly whether it's in your past, your present, or possibly the world, whatever you're seeing, what are some examples of some things that you think that we have maybe incorporated into our worship with God because that's the way the pagans worshiped their gods? So we have started to worship our God that way. It is in a way we've gotten away from his times and his seasons and walking out his calendar because we're like, oh, it's God's calendar. I mean, the Jewish calendar. It's the Jewish holidays. No, it's not. It's God's. And we're going to go through it again today. He's going to go through, here's the things. He's saying, I want you to, if you keep fixed on me, I don't want you to worship me the way they worship the pagan gods. I don't want you to build these idols and build this thing and fall down and worship me. And I can see a lot of times, especially in some denominations, and I don't want to get into any kind of what would appear to be judging. I'm just going to say my perception as I re'eh, if I'm beholding something, I'm seeing where there could be some things that are being worshiped that he's not calling us to worship that way. And we need to be really careful. And he's telling us here, I don't want you to do that. So in chapter 13, how are we doing on time? Chapter 13, if you keep on moving with me, chapter 13, he says, whatever I command you to do, I want you to don't add or to take away. And we're back to right where we are. I don't want you to see and go, ooh, that would be good. I'm going to add that. Ooh, I don't really like this. I'm going to take this out. I love that Yeshua, when Jesus came, he came to walk it out. I always say, he's like, this is how you do it, right? He comes in, he's walking it out. He's saying, this is how you walk this out. Because what happened is the religious leaders had added so many fences around the Torah, and they treated it like each one of those fences, not just like, oh, these are nice. This will help protect you. And if you have an issue with this, you may want to consider putting a little fence around this. Like if you have some trouble drinking, you might want to put a fence around, maybe never going to a bar or never sitting down and drinking, because you can't just have one. You should not have any. It's one thing to say, I'm going to put this personally as a fence because I'm struggling, and until the Lord delivers of me of this, then this is what he's going to work with me at. It's another thing when you create a fence around something and then you're expecting everyone else, right? Everybody else to do that. We talk about what's permissible to one person may not be permissible to this person, but we do know what's permissible in the Torah that's black and white. So Yeshua came to walk it out. He says he was HaTorah. He was that word, the Torah, become flesh. And it dwelt among us. It walked amongst us. He walked amongst us to show us this is what it's supposed to look like. Because you've added a bunch of stuff. And maybe you've taken a bunch of stuff away. Many of us have done that. We've taken some things away and we've said, well, this doesn't really apply to me. Like I said before, these are Jewish holidays. No, this is God's way. This is God's calendar. They're your holidays. It's your calendar too, because he wants to co-reign with you. And so here's a little commercial break. It is a fabulous time right now for you to take a look at your calendar. Go through, take a look at the calendar and request your days off for the year, because they're coming up soon. Remember, you have Yom Kippur coming up. You have Yom Teruah, the Rosh Hashanah. Some of you will take those 2 days off. There's 2 days there. You have a day for Yom Kippur. You have the 1st and the 8th day of Sukkot. So there's some days that you need to go and take off. They are commanded, and we go through it again in here. We're commanded for those to be a holy day. No work is to be done on that day. And it's a day where I want you to consider, what does Shabbat look like for you? That Shabbat is to be set apart. It's not to look like any of the other days. It's not to cause for you to work or cause someone else to work. Have you made your plans for your festivals? Or is it going to be a last minute thing? Because some of us maybe have other holidays in our lives. Like we plan more for 4th of July than we plan for what we're going to do for Sukkot. And then it gets here and we're like, oh my goodness, I forgot. Because it hasn't been maybe part of your culture. Maybe it's a struggle in your home. And can I ask you to just ask the Father for grace? I love, one of the things we talk about a lot in the Rooted Cafe is how to walk this out with grace when you're in a home and not everybody is on the same page. And so I just want to pray for all of you that as you're walking this out, that the Holy One would guide you in all truth. He says he will. He will give you grace and the words to say and the way to walk it out to bring joy to the occasion. And the more you bring these things in and the joy into it and make it fun, your family you'll see, they'll come along. And they'll see it's not a Jewish thing, and you don't have to be indignant about it. Just be loving. You can be the same way Yeshua was. Just be loving. If you don't have someone to say, you don't have a congregation that's maybe, or a fellowship that's celebrating the feasts and the festivals, can I encourage you, do one yourself. I was moving up here and didn't know anyone or have anyone. And last year, it was a year ago, that I finally was like, you know what? I think I'm going to, there's like Arkansas Messianic something. It's like a Facebook group. And so I went in there and I said, hey, I live in Northwest Arkansas. Would anyone be interested in meeting at Lake Fort Smith? And we're going to there's a, what do they call a cabana? There's a big cabana there that would probably, I don't know, 100 people maybe would fit in it. It was only like $75. I was like, I mean, that's the least I can do. And we'll talk about tithes later, but that's one of those things. It could be like a tithe. I would like to do this. Ended up, some people came in, I want to help pay for it too, but that's beside the point. We made it a potluck. We all showed up, It was so much fun. Most of us didn't know each other, so we got to meet different families. The kids played. We played all day. It was a very fun day. One of the ladies brought kayaks and went in the water. It was such a fun day, and it ended up many of us met again and went camping for Sukkot. Because I stepped out and said, I don't really know anyone, and I am not an extrovert. So I put it out there and said, hey, if anyone wants to come, here's where we're going to be. And we ended up, I think for that Rosh Hashanah, for Yom Teruah, I think we had, gosh, I'm going to guess 35, 40 people showed up between the parents and kids and everything all together. Had so much fun. And then again, we went for Sukkot. And out of that, I have some of the dearest friends now. Such great friends that I have made from that connection, because I thought, oh my goodness, this is coming up. We just sat down together. My husband and I were like, okay, here's the calendar. We have to decide, what are we going to do? Because we're thinking we want to do something different for Sukkot this year. So we're like, what do we want to do? We better get aligned with what's happening, because it's going to be here before we know it. You know how that goes, guys, right? It's all of a sudden it's here. So I just want to encourage you that if you do get online and post something, who lives near me? I'm going to just meet for a picnic. It's potluck. Let's all do, you can put out apples. The theme is desserts or apples, and we're going to do whatever you want to do. You can make it traditional, but just remember that's all tradition. You don't have to take that on, but it is fun if you want to add some things. Like we all had different apple desserts, which was really fun. Or you can make it like, Mexican themed or something, or whatever. I want you just to try, step out imperfectly. And I want to just encourage you to just step out and do it. If you've been struggling, invite maybe some people to your home. That's always a really great thing. Have a few people over. So keep on going. He says, your hand is the first to put them to death. Okay, you're going to go into the city. Let me hop where I was. Your hand, we're in 13 still. Your hand, he says, is going to be the first. As you step into this land, your hand is going to be the first to put to death, no matter how close they are to you. So that what he's saying is, now I remember what I wrote. It says, even if it's your friend, your best friend, or a family member, and you notice that they're bringing in these pagan things, that it is your hand, you have to expose them. Because if you hear that, if this is going on, you have to be the one who exposes it. It doesn't matter how close they are. You can't cover it up. You can go to them. You can beg them, come on, we need to stop this. But if they don't, it has to be eliminated, no matter how close they are to you. And he says, if you hear a whole city, sorry, I'm itchy. If you hear a whole city has turned, then go. I love that there's a process. You don't just go, oh, I heard, and so now there's a rumor. So rumor has it, this is happening. No, he says, I want you to go. I want you to investigate it. Go see what's happening. Go, don't just take hearsay for it, but it's your responsibility that you investigate it. You thoroughly inquire to find out what's going on. And then if you find out it's true, because you've done your eyes have read it yourself, you have beheld it, you have seen what's going on, and you see that they've chosen this pagan lifestyle. If it's true, the entire city has to be stricken. It says with a sword, right? And even the livestock and everything has to be burned. We're going to see that later with David, right? Or with Solomon, that the whole cities have to be wiped out, and they try to keep the lambs, or they try to keep livestock. And they're like, why do I hear this bleeding? Oh, well, I was just going to keep this. No, everything. Right here is where he said it. Everything has to be taken out. Okay, so then we're going to hop into chapter 14. Are you moving on? Chapter 14. Now, this one is really interesting. Chapter 14, it's a random fact for those of you who like a little deeper. Check into this, but it is this chapter 14 is actually a chiasm with Exodus 22. So I'm going to let you hang that out and look at that and see then where's the middle. But he's saying, here's what you can eat. And this is really, 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 really a difficult thing for people. And I think it's funny because even in the garden, right, one of the first things we're told is what we can and can't eat, and we eat it anyways. And what happened is it caused a kalal. What does kalal mean? Curse? Okay. A limitation. They were limited. because a correction needed to be happened. So they were put on a timeout. They were taken out of the garden because they couldn't live in the garden in that state. They had to be taken out because you couldn't live eternally in that state of rebellion. And continue to miss the mark. You can't live in the garden like that. You were taken out because it was a kalal. It was a way of humbling you back down and bringing in correction and guidance and direction. Not some horrible curse and now you're never, it's like, no, now you're going to see, I want you to see that you're going to actually work for what you do because before it all just was given to you, now you're going to actually see. It's kind of like when he lifted up the walls and the snakes came in. Now you're going to actually see what I was saving you from. Now you're going to actually till the ground instead of everything magically growing up and you just have to pick it and tend it. No, now it's going to be labor for you. You're going to actually have to appreciate. I mean, can you imagine you've been given this gift? The same here is he's talking about now. He's going to go deep into some things that we don't like to talk about. It's really a bone of contention. And instantly when we start talking about, well, this is the food that you're allowed to eat, and this is the food you're not allowed to eat. Instantly, everyone I love, all of you just know, please know I love you. And I want to just make a huge statement. This is not a salvation issue. This is about, do you want to live in the state where you're hitting the mark and you're blessed? You're seeing the face of God. You can walk with him in the garden. Those things are happening. Or do you want to live in a place where you're constantly being limited in correction? And it could be physically, because you could choose to eat certain things that could be causing physical limitations on your body. Instantly, I have multiple of you will email me and you're going to comment about Peter's dream. It is all about, we could eat everything that God's made clean. I just can't stress enough to you. Would you take a minute and just take a breath? And I want you to pick up that section in his word. And I want you to go to it and I want you to go back and reread the whole section where Peter has the vision. I want you to read before that. And then I want you to read the vision. And then I want you to read after that. And I want you to read it as one story. And what you will find, if you can just pray, ask the Holy Spirit. He said he will guide you in all truth. Would you just say, Father, Holy Spirit, would you lead me in all truth? Because remember, God spoke to people in dreams. This is something they would have understood. So like when he spoke to Joseph, do you remember when he spoke to Joseph and he gave him a dream? And what was the dream? The dream was 7 cows and then skinny cows and fat cows. And then the skinny cows and the fat cows. And then there was the wheat and the big skinny wheat and the fat wheat. Was the dream about wheat? What was the dream about? People. It was about people. Go back and look at other dreams. The dreams that are about, there will be visions about food. It wasn't about food or animals. It was about people. So Peter would have been not wanting to touch people that were not clean, meaning they were unbelievers. He wouldn't have gone into their home. He would not have ministered to them because he would have been brought up his whole life that they were unclean, meaning that they couldn't be, and if he touched them, then he would have to go through a process of getting clean so that he could go into the tabernacle. Remember, we went through all the clean and unclean, not that they were dirty, stinky, but that they were not fit for what they were called to do or be, because they were operating out of that. So anyone who was unclean, he would not have gone into their home. Cornelius, he would have never gone into his home. As a good Jew, he would have never gone in there. Never. But because God showed him that, instantly what you're going to see is he sees that God is telling him it has nothing to do with food. It had everything to do with the fact that he was saying, I am going to make these people, I'm going to mix the people together and I'm going to make them clean. And instantly he goes and he knew. He even talks about the dream 3 times. And he's not talking about food. He's talking about the fact that he went in to see Cornelius. Would you ask the Father to reveal that to you? Am I telling you because you want pork rinds that you're not going to heaven? Absolutely not. This is not about salvation. That's one of the misconceptions. This is about living a blessed life. Living a life that's blessed. Choosing blessings over curses. Life over death. I hope that brings life to you. I hope that brings so much life to you. So then you get this weird thing at the end of this chapter is like, oh, and by the way, don't boil a young goat in the mother's milk. And we could spend some time on this. I just want to say, for me, my understanding of this today is really it's about, this is what's part of the kosher laws. You'll have separate dishes. You won't have cheese on a hamburger. Because of this right here. I want you to just think it's insult to injury if you've taken a baby away from a mother and then you're boiling the baby in its milk. I think you could spend there's a lot of times when we will do things that bring insult to injury. I think that part of this is probably real, and then it's also idiomatic. So I would love to hear your input on this, what you've learned as you've done that. But today I'd like to just think about asking the Father in a practical way, where are some things that I add insult to injury? When do I injure someone and then I come back around, I take something from them and then I shove it in their face? I don't know what that even means to you or to me, but we ask Father, what do I do sometimes that I'm doing that, where I am bringing insult to injury? And then we jump into tithing. Woo, this is fun. Let's just get it all out here. In 14, we're talking about tithing, and the heading on mine says tithe and remember the Levite. And I'm just going to say that to you again. Just remember your Levites. Remember them. And yeah, we do not have a temple, and there aren't an operating Levitical priesthood, but think about the people who are giving up their lives to bring the word to you. And a lot of times we'll pay more to go to a movie or to be entertained somewhere at a football game or something else than we will for someone who's studied all week long to bring a word to you for an hour or whatever. And where there's ways that we could bless them in some way, and asking the Father, how could I bless? Wouldn't it be cool if you pray that when you're listening to someone or you're attending your congregation, you said, Father, how can I bless that person? And he gives you a secret little thing that only they knew they asked for. And then you get it for them. And you now have been used by the Holy One to be a blessing. I think that's just really cool. That's happened to me so many times when I've just been like, gosh, if I just wish I had new dishcloths because I'm just trying to make these work. And I really wish I just had new ones, and have someone say, gosh, I was praying and the Lord told me to bring you this. And I open it and it's full of brand new dishcloths. And it could have been like, it's better than $1 million because only he and I had that conversation. So going into this tithing, this is a really good area for you to spend some time in, because I think we have a lot of incorrect teaching on tithing. So if you spend some time in here, and again, pray that the Holy Spirit would guide you in all truth. He's telling you 10% of your grain, your new wine, your oil, your firstborn, you're going to take 10% of it and you're going to bring it to Jerusalem, because that's the place where the temple was going to be. I want you to come there where I'm going to have my name, where I'm going to have my tabernacle. I want you to bring it all there, and you're going to eat it with me there. Of course, you're going to give the Levite their portion. We're going to eat together. We're going to go and we're going to eat it together. But if you live too far, now I live too far, and also there's not an operating temple. But if you live too far and bringing all that would be way too heavy for you, then sell it. Sell all of your stuff so that you're just bringing the money, and then come, bring your money. And it says, spend it on whatever your heart's desire is. Have a party. Like, how come I was never taught this before? Save up all your money so that you could go to Israel and you have your tithe, and then sell everything. If you can't bring over, if you're a farmer, you can't bring all that. For us, it is money, so that it makes it easy. Then go there and then spend it all. And again, he says, don't neglect the Levite, though, in your own gates. Like, come there and you're going to have a party in Jerusalem, but don't forget you have Levites living in your own town. because they're not given anything. They've given their life, and they're not given that same inheritance that you have. So please don't forget them. And don't forget the widows, and don't forget the orphans. Can I just spend some time in this? Because I think that he's calling us back to this, a place where we are taking care of our widows and our orphans in our gates. This teaching has been totally adulterated. How are we caring for the widows and the orphans in our gates? Right? We do have social systems that take care of that. But are there people in your congregation? Are there people in your neighborhood that you could bless, that you could take care of? And I want you to pray about, what does this all look like as far as your tithing, and what is he saying? And then hopping into chapter 15, how are we doing on time? Good. We have about 10 minutes. Chapter 15, the Shemitah year. Shemitah, it's the cancellation of debts. And every 7 years, he says, I want you to cancel the debts out. Every 7 years. Imagine what that would be like. And we've gone through this before, but imagine what it would be like if you loaned money out to someone knowing that the next year was the Shemitah year and they were going to get to cancel out the debt. And God's telling you, I don't want you to change anything, thinking, ooh, they're not going to pay me back, so I'm going to charge them more so that I get my money back quicker. So that's against Torah, right? And this is also, for most of you already know this, but this is where we get bankruptcy laws, that you cancel your debts every 7 years. This is talking about debts. Releasing your brother or your sister from debts. Do you remember Yeshua saying, forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors? What debts are you holding on to? Because last I checked, there's been multiple Shemitah years. And I think that this isn't necessarily today in a practical level. I want to ask you, who have you not forgiven? And we can go to Yeshua gave us the parable of the man who owed the king so much, and the king forgave him. And then this guy owes him a little bit, and he has him cast in prison. I feel like he's really was stirring this up in me in this area. That it's not necessarily money, but it might be. Who do you feel has wronged you? And they owe you. I mean, they owe you. You deserve to get paid back because of what they did to you. Did they take a business from you? Did they take property from you? How did they steal from you? Or did they borrow and they have never paid it back? And they owe you. Have you forgiven them? Have you released the debt? Because we know 70 times 7, I'm just supposed to continually be forgiving, but this is specific. Like this Shemitah has passed. And have you released everyone of everything? Have you released them from what you feel you deserve to have? You deserve to get this back. You deserve to be paid back for this. He's telling you today, if you do this, you will be blessed. If you do this, you will be blessed. If you don't, if you're holding on to this unforgiveness and you're not forgiving, or, whether it's physically or mentally, I think if you're holding on to this stuff, if you're holding on to this and you're not releasing it, you're not letting them go, we know it's like taking poison and expecting the other person to die. You're the one who is kalal. You are limited. You are cursed. If we're not letting those things go, he's saying, if you would just let this go, then I can bless you. Ray, look up and behold. All you're looking around is seeing where you've been wronged and you've been hurt, and where this has happened to you and that has happened to you. And he's calling you and saying, Ray, Shema, fix your sight on the light of me, on the King, on your Father. See the goodness that he has for you. Partner with him and focus in on that target. The apostle says, run that good race, hit the mark, strive to hit the mark. Absolutely. We're going to all go back and forth and get distracted. But the thing is this, we can get back on the path. We don't have to be kalaled our whole life. We don't have to be cursed our whole life. But what we can do is we can accept the correction. We can accept the loving redemption. He's saying, come back. And I want you to look. And what I want you to do is I want you to sit with me for a minute. I'm going to show you, kind of like spending time outside the camp, right? If we spend time outside the camp, it's not because, oh, you're unclean. It's because you need to spend some time with him, because the things that's going on inside of you is going to pollute the whole camp. And maybe your unforgiveness is not only polluting you, your body, maybe you have illness or sicknesses that is related to your unforgiveness, but it's affecting your family because it's bleeding out into everything you do. It's affecting your work, your ministry, the way that you're leading and guiding your children, your friendships, just from unforgiveness. Oh my gosh, it's huge. Because what they did was big, right? It doesn't mean you have to be back in relationship with them. That's not what forgiveness means. But you do need to set them free of the debt that you feel they owe. What is the debt? Could it even just be an apology? I don't know, but you need to release it today. Don't take this one more day with you. Don't allow this to kalal you. And if you have been in kalal, allow the loving correction and guidance of the good shepherd who wants to bring you back onto the path so that you can start hitting the mark and live in a life of obedience. So many things that are in here that are saying, here's the things that are holding you back. And then he talks about the 3 festivals, and we have time. I just kind of want to read through this. It says, observe the month of Aviv and keep the Passover to Adonai your God. For in the month of Aviv, Adonai your God brought you out of Egypt by night. You are to sacrifice the Passover offering to Adonai your God from the flock and the herd. In the place of Adonai, he chooses to make his name dwell. You are not to eat chametz with it. For 7 days you are to eat matzah with it, the bread of affliction. For you came out of the land of Egypt in haste. Do this so that all the days of your life we remember the day when you came out of the land of Egypt. No chametz should be seen with you in all of your territory for 7 days, and none of the meat you sacrifice on the evening of the first day may be left overnight until the morning. You may not sacrifice the Passover offering within any of the gates. So it's interesting, remember, is that this was fulfilled with Yeshua. He didn't stay overnight. The Passover lamb wasn't left overnight, right? He was buried. Adonai your God is giving you. Rather, at the place Adonai your God chooses to make his name dwell, for there you will sacrifice the Passover offering in the evening at sunset, the time of your coming out of Egypt, and you are to cook and eat it at the place Adonai your God chooses. Then you will turn around in the morning and journey home. For 6 days you are to eat matzah. At the 7th day, there is to be a solemn gathering for Adonai your God. On it, you are to do no work. So you see, there's days now you need to take off next year for Passover. 7 weeks you are to count for yourself. From the time you begin to put the sickle to the standing grain, you will begin to count 7 weeks. This is the Feast of Weeks. We begin counting. You'll hear it as counting the Omer. You'll begin counting. Then you will keep the Feast of Shavuot. Many of you know that is the Feast of Pentecost. Shavuot was when Moshe was given the 10 words. That's the reason that the disciples were gathered all together, because they were honoring this feast. They were gathered together, and they instead the flaming fire, just the way that the word was written on tablets, the word was written in their hearts. Then you will keep the feast of Shavuot to Adonai your God with a measure of a free will offering from your hand, which you are to give according to how Adonai God blesses you. So you will rejoice before Adonai your God in the place Adonai your God chooses to make his name dwell. You and your sons and your daughters, slave, maid, Levite, outsider, orphan, and widow in your midst. See, it's for everyone. You will remember that you were a slave in Egypt and that you are to take care and to do these statutes. You are to keep the feast of Sukkot for 7 days. That's coming up, folks, right? In a couple months. After gathering in the produce from the threshing floor and the winepress, so you rejoice in your feasts. You, your sons, your daughters, slaves and maids, Levites, outsiders, orphans and widows within your gates. 7 days you will feast to Adonai. It's a big party. He loves us to party and enjoy ourselves. And he will bless the produce and the work of your hand, and you will be completely filled with joy. 3 times of the year, all your males are to appear before Adonai your God in the place of he chooses, at the feast of Matzah, the feast of Shavuot, and the feast of Sukkot. No one should appear before Adonai empty-handed. The gift of each man's hand according to the blessing that Adonai has given him. It's not a Jewish calendar. It's our calendar, and we get to practice the rehearsal of the springtime feasts because they have been fulfilled with Yeshua. He fulfilled those, and it's such a beautiful time that we get to still do that, to remember. We still get to remember Zakar. And now as we head into the fall feast, as we head into this season, this is a time yet to come, right? As we're going into Yom Teruah, it is the day we know not. Oh, wait, that's what they said. We'll know not the day or the hour you'll return, but the trumpet will sound. Many of us, I believe this, that he will come during that season. Because that's when the bridegroom's coming. And he wants us to submit ourselves right now to the things that maybe we have chosen that have caused us to kalal, where we have been living limited, restricted lives. And he's wanting us to forgive. He's wanting us to submit to his commandments, even the ones we don't understand and we're struggling with. Maybe it's your food. You're struggling. He's saying, I want to teach you. I want to guide and direct you. My yoke is not heavy. It's not too hard for you. Father, I just ask that this word would come alive to us. That, Father, I thank you that you've written it on our hearts. I ask for forgiveness for myself, Father, for all the ways that I have missed the mark. And I ask, Father, that your grace would continue to point me in the right direction. Be blessed. Have a blessed week. And I can't wait to get into next week's portion with you. It's my favorite.
זה שיר פשוט, זה שיר קצר, אולי נשמע טיפה מוזר, אבל תדע, כי זו עובדה, שאלוהים אוהב אותך, והוא רואה, והוא שומע, ואכפת לו מכל דבר קטן, תדע לך, שזו עובדה שאלוהים אוהב אותך.
זה שיר פשוט, זה שיר קצר, אולי נשמע טיפה מוזר, אבל תדע, כי זו עובדה שאלוהים אוהב אותך.
We are richly blessed to bring you what we believe is the fullest, most diverse, yet up-to-date progressive teachings, discussion, and prayer programming you can find anywhere on this planet. Be sure to take the tour of the MessianicLambRadio.com website. I'm Susan Hugie, thanking you for joining us on the Messianic Lamb Video Network.